Yeah, I mean, I got some thoughts around tariffs where I think the market's going to be very choppy and fluctuate over the next couple of months. Ultimately, this is obviously going to go one of two ways. Either it's going to work or it doesn't. And the way that it's going to work, if we get the outcome that I think he wants, is it's going to make a more level playing field and it's going to create more competition because now you don't have products coming in from overseas that are undercutting the US market. And I think the goal here, what my goal would be to get more things made in America because that creates more jobs and stimulates the economy. I mean, we got to say, we have been taking advantage for a very long time with tariffs with other countries, but we don't have the same trade agreements. So there's less tariffs on their end coming in with products. So, got to see how it works out. I don't know. The oil question was good. He's only going to bring it up 10% instead of 25%, so that's good. But we got to see how this plays out. If there is a way to make money, companies will figure it out. If we create a landscape where American companies can make more money, they'll figure out a way to do it, and it could create more competition stateside, which is ultimately good.
How do you feel about him saying we will absolutely put tariffs on the EU?
I mean, I'd really have to look into those agreements, but I mean, I don't necessarily have a huge problem with it.
Yeah,
I mean, just think about it like this: if country A charges country B a 20% tariff, the country B only charges country A a 5% tariff, there's a trade imbalance.
Right.
And it may be cheaper to produce products in the other country and then import them in. I mean,
is there any company on the top of your head that would come back to the United States and start manufacturing?
What I was really thinking about is what companies benefit from this. You're going to be surprised with what I say, but Intel, if they can get their stuff together, is going to benefit from that chip tariff.
I could see that happening.
If they can get these fabs up, this could create a situation where this really helps Intel out a lot, and companies line up to produce things stateside in their facilities.
We'll talk more about Apple, but do you think at all they would come back to the United States, or in some respects?
Some respects, yes. Some respects, no. I mean, look, they have a very big business out in the EU and in China. And for companies like Apple, they may just manufacture their stuff for Europe in Europe, manufacture their stuff for China in China, and not ship it out. I mean, I'm not sure exactly how they do it right now, but they could segment their business. I don't think it's going to matter that much for Apple.
Yeah, and also Apple's going to have some conditions where they get removed from some tariffs, I think.
There's going to be exceptions for a lot of things.
Exactly.
First couple of weeks will be rocky, but there will be exceptions.
Explain this to me. You're an oil and gas guy. He's bringing it up by 10%. Why would that not shoot oil prices up dramatically?
So Matt would really be the person to talk to on that. But you know what? We produce enough oil and gas stateside. So as long as we are, the short answer is it'll incentivize companies to drill more in the U.S. because there's a spread there for them to make more money.
Gotcha. Well,
it's not like we don't have the capability to produce more, and it's not like we don't produce enough. So putting a tariff on incoming oil, as long as the U.S. oil companies produce more, it's not going to matter.
So I know you said we're going to have to see how this plays out. Obviously, all of us will have to find out for ourselves in the next coming months. But your gut feeling, you think this really rocks the market bad, or what do you think?
Could. I mean, the market went down today based on it. I mean, it could be very choppy. The only good thing is it's happening during a very strong earnings season, and that could stabilize it. But it could. You don't know. I can't predict how this is going to play out. It could be very rocky for a little bit. Ultimately, in the long term, I don't think it changes a thing. and I think it's going to make things stronger. I think there should be fair trade policies and unilateral trade. If we're getting taxed 20, if our companies are getting taxed 20%, then foreign countries should be getting taxed 20% coming in. Simple as that.
Okay, we got a lot of other topics to get to for today's market close. Thank you everybody for being here. First of all, I'm putting Steve's Seeking Alpha in the chat. Steve is, in my opinion, the best author on that platform. And this guy can pump out articles like it's no tomorrow while still being high quality. So if you are here, Steve tends to join us every other day on the show, give his analysis, but his articles have some really good juice in there. So please make sure to follow him there and give a read to the Apple article, which we'll get into right now. So the title, Steve, is Q1 Earnings Proved Why Being Bearish is Crazy. I'll give you the floor. Why is that the case?
Over the long term, Apple has outpaced the S&P and the Qs. Anybody who has been bearish on Apple has missed out on an opportunity year in, year out. Apple was the only thing that held the market up for quite some time in 2022. Ultimately ended up going down, but it led the market higher in the rebound. It's the most profitable company in the market. People talk about no growth. People talk about it's not innovative. People come up with ridiculous bear cases. The problem with the bear cases, then the only one I can agree with was, past tense, no growth on revenue. Because everything else was an opinion. Whether I like the products and somebody else doesn't like the products, those are two opinions. The only thing that matters is the raw data, and the raw data says that they are selling over $100 billion worth of products almost every quarter. That they are generating $100 billion or $90 to $100 billion worth of net income on it every year. They just produced $34 billion in net income in 3 months. I mean, I don't have the article in front of me, I'm driving, but the breakdown on those numbers, they were making, I think, $2.7 billion a week in profit.
Right.
That's more. I mean, think about this. Because your community loves Palantir. By the way,
Hold on. This is our community, first of all. Second of all, don't isolate yourself from Palantir. Okay, we got a lot to talk about on Palantir.
Hold on. Carb's interview was amazing on CNBC. Amazing. But what I was going to say is, like, they profited the amount of revenue that Palantir is going to generate in a week.
I get it. I just didn't like how you said your community, because you're part of the Palantir community too.
Channel.
So I'm just making sure, buddy.
No. I mean your community. It's your channel. Your community on your channel. People that watch. I'm just saying. I'm trying to put it in reference, right? The amount of money that they are generating, and you put it on a per day basis. I mean, this is by far the most profitable company. So the only thing that matters is the consumer opinion, because they're the ones that are opening up their checkbook. And even though this has been a no-growth company for quite some time, and as we found out the other day, you have multiple Apple products, and you pay a monthly fee to services for cloud or whatever. There's a lot of people that do that, and it is very hard to get. So it's like Coke and Pepsi. People who drink Coke are not going to drink Pepsi. It just doesn't happen. I won't drink Pepsi. I want Coke. Yeah. If a restaurant doesn't have Coke, I'm getting ginger ale because I'm not drinking Pepsi. And the worst thing is a Pepsi with pizza. I just, no, not happening. But that's exactly what it is with Android and iOS. Same thing with Mac versus PC. People are not going to an Android phone from an Apple iPhone. It's just not happening. It's like the Mets versus the Yankees. Not happening.
Talk to me about services, because Apple added 90 million new users to services in 2024. How do you think that grows over the next 5 years?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty incredible. I linked an article that I wrote from 2021 where I actually modeled out forward services and said that, or predicted they would generate 100 billion run rate in 2025, which it looks like they're going to do. Services came in at 26.5 billion or so this quarter, Q1 2025, and they grew by 3.3 billion quarter over quarter. I mean, this is a high margin business. It's reoccurring revenue. It's incredibly sticky revenue. And it makes the product ecosystem even more sticky.
Right.
It is just, it's a great compliment. And the bottom line is they're starting 2025 off at the highest level they ever had from revenue. They are in a position to potentially break 400 billion revenue this year. They got back to top line growth, and they're buying back so many shares. You look at it year over year, their EPS year over year in Q1 grew by 29 cents. It's a pretty big bump that it grew by. Their bottom line growth is there through buybacks. Even though you hate it, it's a fact.
I don't hate it.
I just drive it higher. If they get small top line growth and continue to buy back shares, this company is going to continue higher, just as it has for the past decade. And that's what the bears can't get through their head. They can't get it through their head. It is a broken methodology with the bear case, because they try to go on a product level or an innovation level or this level or that level when they're not looking at like raw numbers. And it's funny because some of the comments in the article that I wrote were talking about the valuation. Okay, cool. You don't like Apple at 30 times earnings, whatever it is, 30 or 32 times this year's earnings, and it goes down to 25 times 2027 earnings. You're telling me you'd rather pay more money for Walmart on a price to earnings basis than Apple? Get out of here. Get out of here. That's crazy talk. You'd rather buy Costco at like 45 times or whatever it is than Apple today? Come on. The arguments are crazy.
So I agree with that, but you said the bears focus too much on product innovation. Are you saying we shouldn't care about product innovation?
I'm not saying we shouldn't care. I'm saying what the story is how much money they produce. And product innovation is an opinion.
Well, okay, so let's get into the getting rid of the VR headset. So what is your take on that? Is that bad?
I'm not happy. I don't think it's necessarily bad for them from a immediate standpoint. I think it's a long-term opportunity that they're going to miss. The same way that they didn't get into cloud services. Okay, here's my problem with Apple. And even though I'm an Apple bull, and some would say a perma bull with Apple, and to my credit, I haven't been wrong on that. I think they go into things halfway, 1 foot, and they never give it their all, because they kind of test it out. If it doesn't seem like it's working, they make so much money that they can just write it off and it doesn't impact the stock.
Yeah.
They did it with the car. They should have never got into the car business. They should have bought Tesla, is what they should have done. When Musk needed money, they should have bought Tesla and had Musk run it. They didn't. They should have never wasted time after that trying to do a car business. Also, the car business is not their ecosystem. Okay. This fits in their ecosystem. This truly does. For them to scrap these plans and give some ridiculous thing about, oh, maybe we'll work on this, maybe we'll work on that. Meta is all in on this. We know because Zuck continuously talks about it, and this is his thing that has nothing to do with a phone, that he's going to be able to own the platform and get a vig from the content. He's not stopping. At some point, computing or entertainment or something, education is going to be off a screen.
So hold on. Here's my question. Here's my question. If they're getting rid of the VR headset, and we can all agree iPhone innovation is likely not going to be substantial, where's the growth coming from besides services?
The top line growth could come from product upgrades of computers. You have a big accessory business. iWatch, like they have products, and we should have some type of upgrade cycle with phones. I mean, a lot of people do change their phone out every 2-3 years. So there's a continuous upgrade cycle with phones. It just may not amount to 5 or 10% a year. It may be 1, 2, 3%. It's a low. This is not a growth company. This is a low, very low growth. And I don't know that it gets to 5 or 10% growth on the top line, but I don't think it has to, because of their profitability. But with the glasses, this is a big problem, because in some point the future is going to be holograms, AR, VR, and Apple should not let that opportunity go away. They really shouldn't. because there's so many applicable applications for this that they need to really focus on form feature of this. Start with content and then work it out to other things. But it doesn't seem like they want to do that for some reason.
Okay, so I want to ask you another question about Apple then. If we are assuming that Tim Cook is right and that China was a problem with inventory, not demand, and that India was one of their best quarters ever, do you think emerging markets is somewhere where they can be creative and get higher growth?
Yes. Yeah, because they make the lower end phones. They have the smaller phones out there. India has been somewhere they've been working on for a while. I don't know how many flagship stores they put up, but they have a couple of big stores out there now. Emerging markets could be very big, and especially if we're going to be in a growth period globally where many families increase their economic standing, they're going to be able to afford more products and make their lives simpler. And that's the biggest thing. When you make more money, you spend money on things that make your life easier. And Apple products makes life easier for a lot of people. So I do think there will be a tailwind on emerging markets for a while.
All right.
Hey, your buddy Dan Ives thinks it's going to 325.
Oh, well, Dan Ives has been touting Apple for a long time. You and Dan have been on the same train. This is the article, guys.
The glasses, they're handing Zuckerberg a win with the glasses.
Yeah, but see, Steven, this is why by the way, I agree with everything you're saying. Apple's probably going to go up. Last night I was telling you I'm going to upgrade my iPhone next year because it's been 3 years. I just don't get picking Apple out of any of the other of the Mac 7s besides Microsoft, because they failed on the glasses, they failed on the car. They're trying to get into robots, but I don't think they're going to be Tesla at the humanoid robot game. Siri and Apple Intelligence, Siri's a failure after 10 years. Siri's a failure. That's the issue that I have.
Let me ask you something. Have I ever said that Apple is going to outperform any of those Mag 7 companies?
No, you have not.
And when we have made our list, have I ever put Apple in the top 3?
No, look, I get it. I'm just saying, if you owned it for the past 5 years, you probably don't need to sell it. But buying it is hard right here.
Yeah, all I'm saying is it's probably not going. All I'm saying is it's probably not going down. And if you're bullish on the market, Apple's probably going to go up. And it's hard to be bearish on a company that generates $100 billion in profit. Very hard to be bearish, especially when they have a 2 to 3 billion device.
I think we lost them.
It's a great company. Let's just leave it at that.
All right. All right. So we got some other topics to talk about. Again, Steve's article is in the description or in the chat. Steve, is this trending on Seeking Alpha?
It was earlier. Oh, no, I haven't looked.
All right. Can everyone
I do try to interact with everybody. If anybody who reads it leaves a comment.
All right. Everyone click on this thing so we can get it trending and get Steve to be number 1 on Seeking Alpha. Let's talk about Palantir. We hit an all-time high today. Going into earnings, what do you think of Karp's interview?
It was incredible. And he's 100% correct. Look, it's a lot harder to be a first mover than a second mover. And it's not nearly as impressive being a second mover than a first mover. And he's been saying a lot of things for a long time, and it looks like he's going to be correct on a lot of these things, and he deserves the victory lap and the flowers. I mean, this is just, he's been right. Others have been wrong. Others have doubted him. He's been right. This is a great company. I think long-term, it's going to be a larger market cap than it is today. I just don't think the valuation today works. That's all. You can't take anything away from that. It's an incredible company.
So here's a harder question. Why did Palantir go up before Trump with the tariffs thing? 5%. Why did it break all-time highs in your opinion?
Oh, tariffs don't matter for Palantir.
No, but the whole market took a hit, right? That's my point. So, but before that,
yeah,
At 11 a.m. when everything was
People,
peachy.
listen, people, look, on Monday, this is either going to 120 or 50. That's why people are buying.
Really? You think that's what's happening here?
I mean, all right, maybe that swing's a little too drastic, but I mean, is it crazy to say that on Monday it's going to 95 or 65 or 95 or 70? I mean, it's
That's
not
more
going to be 85 at the end of Monday.
That is more. I think it's 65 or 95. I think that's a more acceptable range, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. Palantir is not staying sideways after earnings. It's doing one or the other.
Okay, so do you think that big money bought in today before earnings, or you think it was retail?
I have no idea. I wasn't looking at anything, so I have no idea.
The speed at which it went up, dude. I mean, we broke 82, 83, 84 within 20 minutes. And then it took like another 30 to hit 85, or maybe an hour to hit 85. But
yeah, I mean, the only way to know that is if you were actually sitting there on a level 2 machine and looking at volume and how big the blocks were.
We were, and there were some pretty big blocks. I mean, at 85, there was 200,000 shares, and it could have been retail, but it also
yeah, it could be. Yeah, it could be institutions.
I know you're about a road rage just now.
No,
okay.
I'm not. But Kathy sold yesterday.
She did. Kathy sold 150,000 shares. She did.
Yeah, she's been selling.
Well, let me ask you this. I mean, you listened to the whole Carp interview, right?
Yes.
Did it make you more proud to own Palantir?
No, because you can't get more proud than I am to be a shareholder of that company. So no.
Good answer. It's a good answer. My point here in asking this question is,
no matter what happens, I will always be a shareholder of that company.
I think that hearing Carp talk the way he talked today is another reason why retail does not sell their stock, even after being up 10x. And I guess the question
I agree
is,
with that.
I guess my question is, let's give you a hypothetical. Let's say we gap down to 60. Do you think retail sells and takes their wins, or do you think Carp CNBC is enough to keep them holding?
I think if it gaps down to 60, nobody is selling that are long-term investors at the end of the day, because I think that they're just going to expect it's just going to gap back up the way it did last month when it got to 65.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to buy that dip. I think a lot of people are going to buy that dip instead.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if it gaps down, I'll be buying at some point. I mean, there's a number out there where I will start buying again. It's just not here.
One thing that's really important, I was talking about this yesterday on the market close, Palantir shareholders have not really been through a drawdown besides 2022 when the whole market went down. Like, for example, Tesla shareholders have went through 60% drawdowns multiple times. We've only really experienced in the Palantir community 2022, and since then is some stagnation, and then we went straight up. So I don't know.
You've had a little bit of, you've had a very small retracement here and there, but you've never really had a big drawdown. And stocks do not just go up. And when you have this type of trajectory, it's very hard to sustain it indefinitely.
100%. And Amazon, Nvidia, I mean, all these guys have fallen 60 to 70% before. So I don't know if that has.
Look at Meta fell to 92.
Yeah.
That's for no reason.
Okay, so we will see what happens.
This is going to be a hard quarter.
I think it's going to be one of those quarters.
Everybody should be.
Go ahead.
Everybody should be on pins and needles right now, waiting for Monday, because this is going to be a very tough comp, because everybody's expecting a miracle and everybody's expecting huge guidance. And we don't know what is going to make the street sell this off. But if both are not incredible, and look, the amount of EPS generated is probably not going to be anything crazy. So I'm not expecting, hypothetically, if the street's looking for 10 cents in EPS in Q4, I'm not expecting a 20 or 25 cent with a huge blowout. Okay. I mean, a lot of things need to go right for this to keep going up at this rate.
I agree. And I think guidance is going to be the determining factor. But if they have the goods when it comes to the numbers and you got carp being carp, I mean, it could get pretty. It could get pretty.
And you know what can make it even better?
What?
I'll give you one guess.
What could make it even better?
I'll give you one. Take a guess. Yeah, take a guess.
What could make the earnings even better? I don't know. I have no idea.
If
Bible?
Jocko Willink
Oh my
is the
God.
operator.
Okay. Steve, we're trying to get 35% growth. We don't need Jocko. We don't need that would make it better.
Yes, you need Jocko Willink to introduce everybody. Yes, you absolutely do.
So I put a poll in the chat, Palantir after hours on Monday. 56% of people said it's more likely to be 65 than 95.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a very tight race. I did not expect it to be a very big swing or an outright bullishness or bearishness. I think this could go either way. This is a coin flip on what's going to happen. There is no clear-cut picture on this.
That's correct. And by the way, guys, retail selling on Palantir has actually been pretty substantial. On Robinhood, look at the last 10 days, all red, because Robinhood allows you to see retail sales.
Really?
All red since January 11th to the 29th. So retail's been taking
You can't
profit.
be mad at anybody for locking in these profits.
No, of course
I mean,
not.
these are big profits for a lot of people.
No,
I would bet that run a poll to see if everybody's average is under 20, because I would say that most people that are in your chat right now have a cost basis of under 20. I don't want to say under 15 because I don't know if that's realistic, but under 20, I would say 70 to 75% are going to say under 20 is their cost basis.
Okay, so I'm going to do under 20. I'm going to do 20 to 30. We'll do 40 to 50. And we'll do 50 plus. Let's see. Let's see what people say. Let's see. I would say 20 to 30 is going to win this for most people. Oh, nope.
Well,
Under 20.
they could, but I think a lot of people were buying from 8 to 16.
Oh, yeah, you're right. 42% under 20. Wow.
I mean, I thought it would have been higher, but a lot of people were buying under 20. So you can't be mad at people for locking in a 4 or 5x.
I missed 30 to 40 on the poll, guys, but we can only have 4 options. So, yeah, it seems under 20 is the majority of people. All right, well, look, at the end of the day, if the stock goes to 60 or 90, like if we're in this for the long term, we're in this for the long term for the most people, for the majority of people.
Yeah, and retracements are healthy.
Yeah. Well, speaking of retracements, let's transition to NVIDIA. It's officially a week or 5 days since the collapse. NVIDIA closed at 120.07. It's 119 after hours. What are your thoughts 5 days after this whole DeepSeek meltdown?
Yeah, I'm surprised it's not back at 130 plus.
Why?
But it is what it is. I think that this is going to be a crazy quarter with profitability. I don't think people really grasp how in demand these chips are. And I cannot wait for their earnings report.
But it's not back at 130. So here's the question, right? Because this is the beauty of the stock market. Either all of us that have been buying NVIDIA here and holding it are wrong, or the street's wrong. It's one or the other, right? So why do you think the street's wrong? I guess Steve decided to go buy some more NVIDIA because he left. He probably went into his garage and his connection just got hit. But anyway, the point I was making, he'll probably be back in a second. The point I was making is that either the street's wrong or we're wrong. And the fun thing is about the market, when the street's wrong and you're right, you get a really good opportunity to go long on something, and then the street eventually catches up, aka Palantir, Hood, etc. And that creates astronomical gains for people. or at least decent gains based on how you position it. So I guess we're gonna have to see who's right, the street or retail buying the dip. Yeah, Steve should be back in like 5 minutes. Every time he pulls into his garage, the service gets hit. Joseph says, Amit, please hold me on this. I'm terrified. I did get a message from someone a couple of minutes ago or a couple of hours ago talking about why they're... Actually, I'll read it to Steve right here. This is actually a good message to bring up. Steve, you're back.
Yeah, when I drive into the basement, drive into the garage, sometimes it cuts out.
Do you want to take 5 minutes and then come back, or are you good?
No, it's fine.
Aren't you about to get into an elevator?
Yeah.
Isn't that going to mess up the service?
No, not right now.
No.
No,
Okay.
I'm good. I'm staying here.
Okay, cool. So let me read you a message I got from a NVIDIA shareholder who has 10,000 shares with a $30 average. Okay. He says, hi, Amit, I'm really torn on NVIDIA because of these 4 reasons. Number 1, Trump will likely order a complete ban on any chips to China, which would be a $5 billion revenue hit to NVIDIA. Number 2, Trump will have tariffs on chips that are not made in the US. Number 3, Trump is investigating chips sold to Singapore destinations in case those destinations illegally go to China. And number 4, the general uncertainty caused by DeepSeek and momentum is shifting away from NVIDIA. They're playing basically defense instead of offense when it comes to their leader as like the golden stock of the stock market. And as a result, this person with 10,000 shares at a $30 average post-split is very concerned right now. How would you respond to those arguments, Steve, for why being bullish at 120 is still a good idea? You are muted, by the way.
Unbelievable. I'm looking at it from a revenue and growth perspective, and we don't know what the final number on tariffs is going to be. And even if they have it by tariff, they're getting so much money, buying back so many shares, I don't think it's going to matter. And their growth rates are still going to be the highest in the Mag 7. Look, their profit margin's 53%. Think about that, 53% profit margin. That's more than Apple's gross profit margin. So I'm not really worried.
Well, what if those...
And I could be wrong.
Oh yeah, anyone could be wrong. But do you think those gross margins could get hit? Like, do you think they can sustain it, I guess is the broader question?
I mean, they've been able to sustain it for quite some time, actually. So I'm not too worried about it. I think that the demand's going to outstrip tariffs. I think there's so much demand for this stuff. Look at the picture on X with Altman and Jensen. I mean, it's just, there's so much demand for this stuff.
Also, so I'm going to bring that picture up. That was Altman talking about the Blackwell chip. Google announced today that they just installed their Blackwell chips for Google Cloud. So, I mean, it's hard to imagine the hyperscalers necessarily don't upgrade to the highest level chips.
These companies have to. It's not that they won't, they have to, because they can't let any of their competitors have an edge on them. You're not using, okay, if you are racing somebody, okay, and somebody is racing with a Ferrari, you're not going to take a pickup truck, because that's what the previous generation chips become when the new generation chips come out.
Yeah, and the thing is, all this inference training that people want to talk about, that I genuinely believe, from at least the research I've done, is just historically going to create more demand, but make it cheaper to train, which is good, because then everyone's going to want to train, which means they're going to need more chips. Like, it should expand the TAM versus decrease the TAM. It should just make it a lot easier for the average tech company to do more inference training without having to worry about all the architecture that is needed from before. So, I mean, if that spend's not slowing down, I think that's going to be important.
I agree with what you said.
All right, that's what we got on NVIDIA, Palantir. I guess last one I'll give to you here for the day. We do have some earnings coming up next week. Well, last two. We'll do Google and Amazon. So first with Google, do you expect them to crush it?
I expect both of them to crush.
Okay, so tell me first, Google, why do you expect them to crush?
Did you see Meta's numbers?
I did.
Okay. We just went through a crazy presidential cycle. We just went through a big election cycle from many different countries. Meta is the yardstick right now. Alphabet, going to be big. It's going to be big numbers.
Do you think, is there any sector of the business, cloud, Waymo, YouTube, that you're looking forward to the most?
Yeah, cloud, because you know what? As your revenue slowed, somebody picked up that growth, and I think it's going to be Alphabet and Amazon.
Yeah, I agree. Also, I think they're going to accelerate the pace of their buybacks, which is
Same here. So
which is
you
gonna be-
like buybacks for Alphabet, but you don't like buybacks for Apple. I got you.
I've never hated buyback. I like buybacks for Robinhood too. I love buybacks. The problem is if buybacks is the thesis, I feel like that there's an issue right there. You know?
I got you.
Okay, so that's Google, and I'm going to put in the chat right here. The next poll is, which one are you more bullish on next week? Amazon, what are you looking for them?
I would like to see their free cash flow margin expand a little bit, and we'll see what happens. But I am very interested to see how much top line growth grows by. I want to see more profit out of international sales, and I want to see margins expand a little bit.
I want to see operating income margins get above 12%. I think the street would go crazy if they could do that. I think it was like 10.
Yeah.
It was 11.1% last quarter.
Yeah. I agree.
That wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if they could do that.
No, definitely not.
Okay, so then final question for you, Steve, and final question for the poll in the chat. Which one do you think outperforms? It's 50-50 right now next week, Google or Amazon on a percentage basis?
That's so hard because Amazon's such a great name, but Alphabet is so undervalued that it's a toss-up.
I'm going Google. I think Amazon might be up. I think both will crush. Amazon, if Amazon's up 5%, I think Google's up 7%. But granted, we thought Meta and Microsoft would see the same, and Meta crushed, but they couldn't really hold 700. Microsoft just got hit badly, and Tesla ended up being the best performer. So
it's funny how that works out.
I mean, Tesla's going to 20 trillion. Microsoft might not go to 5 trillion. So
I'll take that bet if you want to make that bet.
No, 5 trillion. If the bet is
that bet that Microsoft doesn't get to 5 trillion, I'll take that bet all day.
No. Here's the bet. I would bet you Tesla gets to 10 trillion before Microsoft does.
Tesla gets to 10 trillion before Microsoft does.
So I'm betting on a 10x versus a 3x happening before Microsoft.
I'm not going to take that bet for the simple fact that
Come on, you got to take. I'm saying a 10x would happen before a 3x. You got to take that bet.
No, I won't take that because I think Tesla can get to 10 trillion over the next 10 years if a lot of things go right. And I think it's going to be hard for Microsoft to get to 10 trillion over the next 10 years.
But if that's the case, why wouldn't you buy Tesla over Microsoft right now?
No, I don't own Microsoft. I own Tesla.
No, I get it, but you've been pretty annoyed at Tesla's valuation, which I understand. But why?
For the short term. I think it's ridiculous.
What does that mean? What do you mean for the short term?
For the short, I think today the valuation doesn't make sense, and it's a ridiculous valuation. Doesn't mean that it can't grow into it or that it can't become more profitable. I just think it's crazy what people are paying for it. That's all.
But it's not that ridiculous then, right?
Sure.
I mean, there's a scale to how ridiculous it is, but isn't that crazy?
And it's pretty high on the scale considering that the scale includes a lot of what ifs. So,
what I think is crazy is that both of us and a lot of people in the chat actually think Tesla can 10x before Microsoft 3x's. I mean,
I agree. I mean, now if the bet was Tesla getting to 10 trillion before Microsoft gets to 5 trillion, I would take that bet. But I wouldn't take 10 or 10.
Yeah, I don't think I would take that bet either. I would take 10 over 10. Instead.
Yeah, look, I've never said Tesla doesn't have incredible potential. Never said that. It's just, you know, you want to say 20 trillion versus 10 trillion, maybe I'd take that bet. But
Yeah.
look, it's not going to be easy for Microsoft to get to 10 trillion.
I agree, and it's not going to be easy for Tesla either. But
Tesla's got more firepower, more potential firepower to get there, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
Without a question.
All right, everybody. That is it for today. We have officially ended out the week. I am putting Steve's Seeking Alpha in the chat. Again, please make sure to check him out on Seeking Alpha. Give him a follow. His articles, again, I think are the best articles on the entire platform. And I get smarter reading them. Yeah, I get smarter reading them every time.
I think I'm going to start breaking boxes of sports cards on YouTube.
I think you have the personality to talk for 6 hours and do that. I think you can.
I am serious. Once tax season is over, I think I'm going to start a whole big sports card breaking thing on YouTube in my free time that I have very minimal of. I'm going to find 10 or 15 hours a week to do it.
Well, I think a lot of people would want to tune into that, and I think you could entertain people while you rip up Pokemon cards. That's a good idea.
Baseball, football, basketball, no Pokemon. Sports.
Rip and ship?
Not rip and ship. I think I'm just going to break and do analytics on the boxes and all that stuff. Maybe I'll vlog from sports card shows or something. Who knows?
Dude, you should do it. You have the personality for it. I think
I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to do it.
All right. Well, I will be there to support if you do it.
Thank you.
All right, Steve. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. I'll talk to you later.
All right. Later.
Later.